that I can say, okay, I am a emotionally aware person.
When we're talking before, manifesting ideas,
Yeah.
these things were specific things he taught the kids that changed their lives quickly.
So today we have Andrea with us. She's the host of the Neuroscience podcast, which was ranked among the top 35 podcasts in neuroscience globally. And in today's discussion, we are actually diving deep into the topics like manifestation, embracing uncertainty, how manifestation is different from wishful thinking, and the most important is that how to maintain and build a strong brain health. What is necessary, what are the key factors of doing it, and what is harming your brain health. So let's go. I'd like to thank you because today is 26 and you yesterday celebrated your Christmas and it's a holiday season and you still took out the time to have this podcast with me and I'm really grateful for that.
Thank you. Thank you
Because
for having me, and just thank you for reaching out. Like when I was first starting my podcast, I asked the top leaders right away, some of the most important people that I wanted to have on my podcast, and one of them was Dr. Daniel Siegel. I went straight for Dr. Dan Siegel. I think it was episode like 12 or something. And back then, I would say my intro, this is Andrea with Neuroscience Meets SEL podcast. We're on episode 12. And I saw his face just go, and I'm just grateful that he met with me because now we're not at 500 yet, but we're at
yeah.
381. So we kept going, but it was because people took a chance to share their knowledge with me. So when you reached out to me, absolutely, I'm here. Thank you for asking.
I mean, that's very sweet of you to think this way because when I reach out to people, you just take that shot and you are like, okay, I mean, she's very busy and she might not have the time, and that's particularly understandable. But when I saw your reply, there was a smile on my face. Okay, she replied, we can have this. So,
Yes,
I mean,
I'm excited for you because I listened to your podcast out with the mathematician,
okay.
and I'm very interested in your thought process, your learning, and I'm excited for you for where you're going to go with this. So just hats off to you, really, for what you're
I mean,
doing.
my aim is just to, bring out the topics that we have not enough information on or we are being misguided on, and to see how the creative process goes in different fields because fields like research, fashion, makeup all have some creativity behind them in the designing of the products.
Right.
So I just like to have people and study and know how the creative thinking goes. And
Excited.
each
Excited.
podcast I have had, I have gotten a new perspective and I have at least learned one thing which I carry with me and maybe have helped me to inculcate good habits.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Well, tell me, where do you want to start? What do you want to
Yes.
know?
So, first of all, my first question is why did you start this podcast that you have? I mean, this amazing podcast. What was your motivation behind that? Like, you started in 2019. Now it's
Yes.
been 6 years now. And it was one of the top neuroscience podcasts. In 2023, I guess it was among top 35 podcasts. So, why did you start it in the first place?
Well, it's funny because I've always been interviewing people. Prior to the podcast, I had a membership site back in the day
Okay.
where we used to code our own websites, and there was no templates back then. We had to get short code and make it up and interview on platforms and put it somewhere that only the members could access, right?
Okay.
That's what I was doing prior to launching the podcast. So I've always been interviewing. And I bought a website template. It was not one I had to code myself. It was like a template that had a podcast theme.
Okay.
And the guy said you could delete the podcast theme, the guy that was helping me to build it. And he said you could delete it if you want, or we could just leave it there. And I thought, I want to leave it. And I want to figure out what is this podcast thing. And I
Okay.
didn't know what is an RSS feed.
Okay.
If you're going to do a podcast, you better know what is an RSS feed.
Yes. Yes.
So that was the first thing I figured out. What is an RSS feed? How do I now take interviews that I was putting privately and broadcast them to the world? That was
Okay.
really where it started because of a theme on a website. And there was a little more. There's a little more like I was wanting to speak at a conference
Okay.
and to speak at this conference and share the research and the learning that I had been doing at the time. It had been over maybe 2 decades, and I wanted to share with people. And they said, oh, to come to our conference, you have to pay. You have to
Yes.
fly there and you have to pay to share the knowledge that I've done for 20 years.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is wrong. I don't like this. It should be a way to share information to people that want to hear it where they don't have to pay.
Correct.
And there we got the podcast. And so it's been important for me till now that I don't have ads running. Maybe my husband has a different opinion, but it's important for me that it's a give back. Some people go to church on Sundays. On Sundays, I'm reading and trying to find a way to share knowledge that makes it easier for people to do the things that they want to do. And mostly because I feel like I had a lot of teachers along the way that I got this information from, and then I want to share. So that's really, kind of twofold. Like I picked a website template that made it easy for me to broadcast to the world, and then just the urge to share something that people don't have to pay for.
I mean, your motivation is so beautiful. It's just about sharing the knowledge. That was your motivation behind this podcast. And that's what, makes it even better because normally people start YouTube or this kind of stuff either because they want to connect with people or network or for monetary purposes.
Right.
But your motivation is definitely very different from that aspect. And now I would like to talk about your season one, which was about social and emotional learning skills. First of all, I want to know because it's such an umbrella term, right? And even in my high school, I had psychology for like 2 years. And I was given a book this thick, and I was asked, okay, you just memorize every term in this book. And there I stumbled upon social and emotional learning skills. And there was so much about it, but I never understood that what exactly it meant.
Yeah.
What skills do I need to have that I can say, okay, I am a emotionally aware person.
Right.
So
Yeah.
what is those skills that I need to have?
Yeah, this is like such an amazing question because I want to go back to the late 90s, okay? So I was a teacher in the classroom in the late 90s, and these skills were called soft skills. They weren't important to teach. We wanted to teach the math and the science, not these soft skills. But I worked for a motivational speaker. It was kind of a fluke that I ended up working for him. I was a teacher in the classroom and I quit my job teaching to go work for this speaker who was challenged to work with 12 teenagers
Okay.
with these concepts that we now know are social emotional skills like, growth mindset, self-awareness, social awareness, managing our emotions, self regulation, and developing relationships. These are the key social emotional, they call them competencies. Well, back then they weren't named this, right? So this speaker, this old guy, was challenged. Hey, I challenge you to work with these teenagers. And at the time I was working with him, and this was right up my alley because I was a teacher, right? And I thought, oh, good luck to you. Good luck. You are going to struggle with these kids. Just you wait until you're trying to teach them, because I had my experience of trying to teach, and I taught behavioral students. So it
Yeah.
wasn't a pleasant experience for me. But what happened was these 12 kids transformed their lives in it was 12 weeks. They took these social emotional skills and they became like one kid was had C grades, and they changed their grades. And I'm not kidding, it was 12 weeks. I was sitting there when we're talking before, manifesting ideas.
Yeah.
These things were specific things he taught the kids that changed their lives quickly. And I
Oh,
was sitting in the audience watching what he had done, really not believing. I was thinking, oh, like I didn't believe it was going to be this much of an impact. And it hit me so hard, I started crying. I was like in the audience, I'm taking notes, and I was like, this is it. These are the skills that our next generation needs to set them up for success, to change like the trajectory of their life, because I watch these kids doing it, right? And kids that I still follow now, they're now adults and they have families, but um, now social emotional skills went into schools, right? I watched them. So in the US, I watched like maybe one or two states had these important skills. And then they had this organization called CASEL, so
okay.
CASEL.org, that started doing research on these skills and showing that these skills increased their grade point average, or their grade level of material, 11 points. So they started impacting their academics. And I wasn't surprised, right? Because I watched these 12, I
Yeah.
saw it myself. Then the research comes in to say we need these skills. But remember, in the 90s, they were called soft skills. So
Yeah.
it wasn't an easy transition for, I guess, for it to come in to be important for people to recognize. And still, people still struggle that these are important skills. But I think they're the backbone. Why I called the podcast, I called it in the beginning, Social Emotional Meets Neuroscience. And I had
Yes.
someone tell me, turn it around and make neuroscience first. Make neuroscience important, because we need to show the research and the brain behind these skills. So you're talking about why should we know them? Well, having a growth mindset, right? Like, you would never be doing this, calling me up, "Hey, could I ask you some questions if you didn't have
Yeah.
a growth mindset and you thought maybe you could learn and change, right?"
Yeah.
That's one of them. Um, Becoming self-aware by doing these podcast episodes, you're learning from people, you are going to change over, like, watch where you are from episode 1 to 50,
Yeah.
50 to 100, 100 to 200. The self-awareness you get personally, not just the listeners, but it starts with you, because you're the one getting the information, then it goes out to the world. So you become self-aware, then you're helping others. Like, how can I now learn, like what the mathematician said, how you guys were talking about how he learned backwards from how you learned. It's
Yes.
how we all learn is different, but
Yeah.
it's interesting when we go back to, like, I think we all know what we're meant to do when we're young, like maybe 16, 17, 18. We started doing something. I started teaching hard things and noticing I could explain them really well when I was in school. Like, I had to explain how the blood pumps through the heart. Like, it
Okay.
was an assignment to explain how the blood pumps through the heart. And I knew that from lifeguarding. I had to learn it already when I was a lifeguard, so it was easy for me. And I did diagrams, and
Yeah.
I stood up and I showed my class how the blood pumps through the heart, and they all stood up and clapped, like they were like, "This is great." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Wow, I took something hard and made it easy." So
Yeah.
self-awareness, right?
Yes.
Um, Social awareness. Once we know how we operate, how do we operate with others? How do we know how to include ourselves in the world? How to
Yeah.
listen better? Developing relationships, again, that's a key for life success. So, like when you're, I don't know what your book was that they gave you, but these are the main competencies. I put 6 into
Okay.
my framework, and I thought these are the 6 that I think are important for us to all have, for myself, for others. And the ones that I watched those kids, it was like, if I didn't see those 12 students young, changing their life quickly, I don't know if I would have believed in it as much, right? Like, if you see it evidence of it yourself. I didn't need COSL to come out with research to now show, oh, okay, having these skills is going to increase your academics. No kidding. It's going
Yeah.
to make you such a well-rounded person, open to the world, to learning. So I could just talk forever about the social emotional competencies, but that's where it came from for me and why I think it's important.
I mean, yes, I do agree with you that, I mean, self-awareness comes from, within, and by talking to people, you become more and more self-aware. And you mentioned about these six competencies, right? And I know that you have a good podcast on each of them separately, because I went through them. But if you have to rank them, let's say if I ask you in order, which are the most important ones? Like, according to their importance, if you have to rank.
So that's that's interesting because I noticed the one that gets the most listens because I look at that. What do other people think? Well, they went straight for self-awareness, right? Like
Okay.
understanding the self. And then I was doing a podcast with this guy, David Adams. He runs a social and emotional organization. I forget what it's called, but he's the CEO. And he gave me a different perspective. He said, Andrea, we're all so focused on ourselves. He challenged me. He says, how many episodes have you got on social awareness?
Okay.
How often are you focused on other? And it was true. It was like mostly people were listening to the self. What can I get for myself?
Yeah.
Well, turn it around and see, I think is most important to look, and that's when I'm interviewing people, what can you give? So the social awareness, what can I learn from being interacting with you?
Okay. So basically, it's the social awareness and the self awareness, or rather, we can say it's a combination of both of them. And these are two very important things, like what we can give and take in an interaction,
Yeah,
and what we give to the other, and what we get for ourselves, right?
for sure. For sure,
And
because you don't want to be on empty, right?
yeah. And I mean, as a human, how do I make myself interested to know about myself? I'm very interested to know about you, to know about other people around me. But I mean, it's like reading a book. I get interested in a character and I want to know more about it. And as the character starts building, I enjoy the book or I enjoy the series for say. But how do I make myself interested in myself? How I became the main character for me?
So that's interesting because it's you who's building your life, right? So you're the main character of your life, and all your people around you are connected to you in certain ways, and so there's lots of different ways that you could look at this. So you can gain information on yourself through religion. You go to church and you could learn more about yourself spiritually as well. And other ways through astrology, you look at astrology and you learn, well, who am I? Where was I born? You could learn all those types of things about who you are. Um, and I think what helps us is gaining that awareness of who we are inside to maximize what we're supposed to do with our lives. Like, I
Yeah.
think we all think that. Like, I know my daughter, age 14, the youngest, hasn't figured that out yet, right? She's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm nervous. Like, what if I don't figure it out? And I say it's okay. You don't need to have everything figured out because maybe the job that you're going to do has not been invented yet.
Yeah.
So just understand, like go through life and learn who you are. Know you start to figure out what you're good at, your genius. Like when I
Yeah.
was talking about how I knew that I could teach hard things. I bet you knew what your genius was young, right? Like start
Yeah.
to understand who we are, what we're good at, and then you just start to experiment and find out what jobs you like, what you don't like, and through all these processes you learn more about who you are, and it's never ending. I don't think
Right.
you get to, like, I'm still trying to figure it all out, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
50, 55 this year and trying to figure it all out still.
I, yeah, I mean that's quite interesting. That I mean I have never believed in astrology. Technically, it's just something that doesn't really appeal to me because I think that if an individual has the power to see the future, I'll be calling them God.
Yes.
So, but yeah,
Yep.
I do believe in like I kind of notice my own patterns, like what makes me the most angry, or what gives me the calm, or or what are my escape mechanisms. So my escape mechanism is if I'm stressed about something, so I'll work more or I'll sleep.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, how do I use this self awareness to choose a right profession? I mean, because our career choices will heavily be influenced by what we are. And most importantly, how do I know that what I know about myself is right? For example, if I have an intuition that, okay, I am impulsive, I take decisions like here and there, and I'm very fast at it. I don't like to take time by thinking more and more. But if somebody tells me, okay, you are an overthinker, you just don't know it. So, how do I know that what I know about myself is right, or what the other person who is telling me about myself is right? And then, how do I use this information to make a decision about my career?
No, this is a really good question because from experience, you will figure this out, right? Like, so I'll give you an example of choosing a career path that is not right for you. So,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure where you are right now, so it's hard to give an example from for you, but I can definitely give one for me. So, I chose a job where I had to be working in a cubicle,
Hmm.
um, and I almost died. So, like, not literally, but
Yeah.
it was very restrictive. I very quickly figured out that I need to be working where I'm out and about, not
Yeah.
restricted. So, how we figure that out, you draw a line and a piece of paper and you pick, like, let's just say whatever job you're going to do, you pick it and you put the qualities, and then you figure out if they're the qualities you want or not, and you
Yeah.
don't know until you try.
Yes.
So, right, like I wouldn't have known that I was going to do this job and just about die sitting, like I felt like I was in jail.
Yeah.
That was all I could explain. It was like, can I leave this place or do I have to stay here? It was so constrictive and I wasn't creative. So with each job that you do, you write that out. What on the piece of paper, what do I want in a job and what do I not want? And you only know what you don't want from experience.
Wow. I mean that's a great idea because I mean I chose a PhD because I just wanted to make mistakes and not be, punished for that. I wanted to explore what's right and what's wrong because for me it goes this way that I mean I want to try 1,000 things and just know by myself, okay, this was not right.
Right. Yep.
So that's why I chose to do a PhD because it gives me that freedom of exploration. But yeah, I mean, I would choose my future job exactly by doing that. I would write what I want and what I don't want.
It's a
And
powerful activity,
yeah,
and I do that every time I'm stuck. When I'm stuck and I'm not happy, you write it down so you can see, well, I can clearly see why I'm not happy because I am not designed to be doing this.
yeah,
I'm designed to be doing this. So then you look for what you're designed for.
yeah. But it will take years and years of practice of having that self awareness about yourself, right? And how you interact with the environment.
Yes.
And for that, we need to be taught that you need to be self aware because I mean, I can tell you the environment I grew up in school, I did not have any self awareness of what makes me happy or what makes me sad. It
Mm,
was only after I started living alone and I just started noticing about myself.
right.
So there is a lot of noise around which you need to filter out to actually know yourself, I think.
It takes time.
Yeah. But it's sad that I think in Indian curriculum we're not taught to do that.
Right. Yep.
Because, and like you said, that you need to experiment, and for me it's always have been like, if you start something you have to complete it. So I never had that freedom of, if I don't like it, I'll leave it.
Mm,
So I
wow.
think even children today don't have that okay, they spend 3 years in a PhD and they think it's toxic and it's not happening, they still continue it because leaving takes a lot of courage,
Yes. Yes,
and
it does.
sometimes we just don't have it.
Yep. You're
So
right. You could think about school. You could think
yeah.
about life. You can't
Yes.
just build a life and then you leave it. You keep trying. You keep
Yeah.
working. Career. Some people leave their whole career and start a new one
Yeah.
from scratch
Yeah.
to find happiness. Oh,
I mean, happiness is quite, I would say happiness is very subjective, but it also needs a lot of people around who will support you. But if you have only the people who are going to tell you, don't do this, it will not result in something better than what you have right now, then it's just, then you are just not ready to take that decision, take that one step forward and tell them, okay, I'm going to take that decision irrespective of whatever happens.
right.
We don't have the courage of taking that leap of faith, I guess. Yeah, so, and
You
also,
can do that when you're younger
yeah,
more, right? Those
yes,
leaps of faith. Like
yeah,
I remember when I moved from Toronto, Canada to the US, I had a lot of people that said, don't do it. But because I was young and didn't have a family and, no husband to have to drag with me,
yeah,
I just did it, right? It's
yeah,
easier when you're younger to do
yeah.
those types of things.
I mean, also in that point of time, the factor of responsibilities come along.
Hmm.
I mean, as for a person, I'm very scared of responsibilities and I don't want to have any. Like, I run from it literally, in literal sense. So, I think it's also has to do with a lot of, if you have responsibilities, you are already pulled back because then you're responsible for many things in others' life.
Right. Right.
And there comes that social interaction we talked about.
Yeah.
Maybe then the social interaction takes the upper hand.
Yeah.
And I mean, I want to ask you, when you left your job, you told that you felt restricted. So in your one of your podcasts, you have talked about the positive stress, the negative stress, and the toxic stress. So when you realize that there was a transition, now this is not the positive stress that I am having, but it's the negative or the toxic stress that I'm experiencing, and I need to move out. What is that threshold that when you realize that this stress is not a motivator, it's just pulling me back? So, what is that threshold point for you?
Yeah. Well, actually, that whole topic was the very first topic I did and was paid for.
Okay.
Stress learning in the brain. It was
Wow.
my first workshop where I was flown on an airplane and given a hotel room to give that
Wow.
conversation. So it's very dear to me because at the time I didn't have chronic stress in my life. Like I couldn't say work, it was not horrible, right? Through experience and time, I've now got to experience lots of different work environments, and some are very stressful. And when chronic stress, when you're in something that is affecting your nervous system day in, day out, starts to impact the body.
Yeah.
And when you start to notice things that, I can now say I have, you go and lie down for sleep and you're anxious at
Yeah.
sleep when your brain state from the day has been so stressful that it carries to the night when you're not working, or you're on vacation and you're still feeling stress, you have taxed your nervous system. You
Okay.
have got dysregulated, out of alignment. And
Okay.
it's something to notice. Like you wouldn't notice it if you haven't experienced it. But
Yeah.
um, so I think when something is impacting you, it's impacting you in your body, where you start to maybe have panic attacks or anxiety. it is that chronic stress that impacts your health. Your sleep isn't good. Like
Okay.
if you were to wear a measuring device and you measure and you're waking up and something is not right with your numbers for your sleep, your heart rate variability, your resting heart rate goes up, all these physiological
Yeah.
things happen when chronic stress hits you and
Okay.
you don't repair with rest.
Uh, okay, so for example, if I'm excited about something, like excited about some work commitment or something like that, then also I would, for example, if I'm on a vacation and I got an interesting podcast, like for your podcast, I was very excited. So even if it would have been when I was on vacation, I would have been excited and still I would be getting thoughts of it and here and there. So there are also, how do I differentiate that it is the good stress because I'm still thinking about work while being on vacation or while going to bed, and it's a bad stress because in both of the cases I am thinking about work.
For sure. So good stress motivates you to do things. Like,
Okay.
there's a deadline, good stress. That's not a
Yeah.
bad stress that we've got
Yeah.
deadlines to do or we wouldn't do things. Um, Good stress keeps you moving forward.
Yeah.
Bad stress holds you back,
Okay.
stops you from moving forward, cripples you physically. You can't
Uneasiness,
move,
basically.
right? Like excited is I can't wait. Like I
Yeah.
know that. I'm excited, you're
Yeah.
motivated, your creativity flowing.
Yes.
Bad stress shuts down the body and you're not as creative, not as, right?
Yeah, I
You
get it.
only know the bad stress feeling when you've got it on you. You can
Yeah.
explain it when you're in it. Hard to explain it when you're not.
Yeah. I have never had bad stress until now,
Okay.
but I think it will make me uneasy and not more excited. I would have that uneasiness, like somebody's forcing me to do something while I don't want to do it.
Yep. Yep. Bad stress. So if you stay in bad stress for long periods of time, it
Yeah.
impacts your health in ways that you just don't want to know. It's not good to stay in chronic stress.
I mean, it sometimes surprises me how we underestimate all this stuff, but it when starts showing symptoms on your body, only then we start to pay attention to it, and not in the early stages.
Exactly, exactly. That's a lot of the reasons why I do the podcast and focus on the health and
Yeah.
ways to put the important health staples in there for us.
And you also mentioned about this very interesting thing that our brain has 5:1 ratio of positive to negative experiences, which is something I've never heard about. So, can you explain me what is it and how it works?
Yeah, so that's Dr. Rick Hansen
Okay.
that where I learned that from. And some of these speakers they give you tips or something that stay with you forever. And
Correct.
that's one of them. So I'll give you an example. If I was to give you I was your boss and I'm giving you a review and I'm telling you about your review of how you did all year. We've got
Okay.
to the end of the year, Shita. I just want to tell you, that your performance was this, this, and this. Okay, I'm going to give you three things. And one of them is negative. I'm going to say you did great on, and I don't know your topic, but you did great on this. The other thing concerned me a bit, Ashita, that, X, Y, and Z,
Yeah.
but you did this. Tell me what you're thinking about the whole time from now on forward. Your brain is stuck on the part where I said
The
where I'm
negative part.
concerned, right? And
Yeah.
that doesn't go away. You're going to be going home, doing whatever you do. You're like, she was concerned about this one thing. She didn't focus enough on the other. So that's the ratio. When we're going to give a piece of criticism that could be constructive, it might have helped you to
Yeah.
hear it. We've got to offset it with at least five positives
Yeah.
so that you don't leave feeling like attacked or
Yeah.
whatever by the negative. So that's the five ratio. You've got to at least put 5 bits in positive.
I mean, now that I'm thinking, it's so true because like when I prepare my questions for the podcast and I, discuss them that, okay, tell me the review. Do you think are they deep enough and they're not looking superficial? And if I get the review, like I get 5 positive reviews and one small negative thing, if I have, I will keep on hovering around the questions with that one negative review. I'll ignore all the 5 positives and I will be just stuck on one negative review.
Right.
That
Yep.
what is that thing that is negative in that? But I won't, I mean, I have never learned to create that 5:1. How do you create that? I mean, it's so difficult to not stuck on that one negative.
For sure. So you do it with others first and know that it's not always going to be people doing it to you that way. Not everyone knows this, but when you model it, maybe with time and people watch podcasts and they learn how to do it. It's called sandwiching the feedback. And you can also think about it like this, like the brain is Teflon, no, Velcro. Brain is Velcro
Yeah.
to negatives. The negatives stick to you like Velcro. And
Okay.
Teflon to positives. Like think about your Teflon pans that
Yeah.
are slippery. Teflon to positives. Positives don't stick, but
Yes.
negatives do. So forget about even the 5, because I can't imagine trying to go, oh, do I have 5 points? So always just think when you're going to give a negative to anybody that you've padded it with enough positives and imagine them. The positives are going to be going away. They're going to be like
Yes.
slipping off of their body. But that negative is going to stick with them after you've left. So how
Yeah.
do you make that negative bit make sure that it's an important thing that you've told them on, that was going to help them? Be very intentional. Don't just give criticism unless you think it could help them some way, because
Yeah.
it's going to stay with them unless you padded it and protected that person to handle it, I guess.
And it can also be depending on perception, that if maybe somebody is criticizing me, can I take it in a constructive way? Okay, that person said this, maybe it's true, and then
Yep.
I move on with it.
Right. Right.
I mean,
Yep.
but that has to come from, again, we stumble upon self-awareness
Yes. It takes
and
time.
also a bit of self-love, that you don't start self-loathing, okay, I'm not good enough or something like that. because
Very true.
because I think, as now I'm talking to you, I'm thinking that I'm very self-critical. If somebody else in my life does the same mistake, I will be like, okay, it's fine, you can do that, it's okay, you have just overspent some euros and it's fine, you're a human. But if I do the same thing, I'll be like, how can I do that? I'm so stupid, I'm this. And now I'm realizing while talking to you that it all actually is about self-awareness and sometimes self-love too.
Definitely,
And
definitely. For example, when I first went into the schools with my work before neuroscience came into play, I was going in with more of a spiritual type
yeah,
of angle. And I had one educator who said, "You can't do this. You have to put your stuff focused on neuroscience." And this is like way before the podcast, way before I had ever read anything. And it was a principle that said, "You must go this way. I can't have your material as it is. It's too spiritual." And he gave me all the reasons why it wouldn't work. And in the beginning, it kind of hurt a little bit. I was like, "Oh, this is like my life's work, and he wants
yeah,
me to go a different way." And I don't think I have it in me to go this different way. I didn't think I was smart enough to
yeah.
understand neuroscience. But sometimes we can get feedback that changed the course of our lives. And if it wasn't for him, I would not have a neuroscience podcast.
Yeah. And that is among the top 35 top neuroscience podcasts. So
From
yeah.
somebody that didn't think, when he first gave me the books, I thought, this is too hard for me. So we can do anything.
Yeah, I mean it's all about the starting point. You just need a push and a starting point, and then it's become easier as you go on the way.
Definitely.
And So as we are on the topic of stress management, I would really like to know that we all mention all the time that exercise is the best way to release stress or to maintain the stress levels, or to deal with it, basically to maintain that demeanor even when you are under stress. But how does exercise help that? I mean, why? What kind of thing it does to my brain that I will maintain my calm even in stress?
So that was like one of the biggest like aha moments that I had. I always knew it was important, right? Like I've always defaulted to exercise. Whenever
Yeah.
I'm stressed out, it's exercise. That's what I've always done, probably since my late 20s, right?
Okay.
But then I came across this guy, Dr. John Rady, who did this
Okay.
book Spark. And what he did was he found like there were these test scores. I think they were the NAEP scores
Okay.
that had math and literacy. They had worldwide scores. And there was this school in Chicago that was like at the top of their scores. And he was like, what is this school in Chicago doing? It was Naperville. What are they doing that their test scores are so high?
Yeah.
And they were doing exercise before school. They had a program where they were making the kids do run around
Okay.
before school, and then they would do their tests. And so this is where Dr. John Rady's studies came in of what is actually happening in the brain. And they found out all sorts of stuff like growth factors, BDNF, all this stuff was happening in the brain due to exercise. So a lot more than we know, right? Like we just know it makes us feel good. Well, why? It's, the biggest thing for anti-aging for me. Like I'm
Yeah.
54 and I feel like I'm 20 years, I'm feeling older now, but I always feel way younger than I really am because the telomeres shorten with
Yeah.
exercise. Like all these things, like not just pumping oxygen through our
Yeah.
body, but all these brain level things. And so he started to study that, and that's where he came up with his book Sparked. And it's all about like what exercise sparks in the brain. And so that's really, what I first when I first started to learn and make the connections of why does this impact me so much? Well, in order for me to sit here and do this hard work, because to
Yeah.
read and go through and understand the science is not easy for me. I would sit here and I would read it and I would go, I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
And then I would see a chart, like the memory in the brain. I don't know what this is. I'm like, it's so hard for me. In order to understand it, I had to go exercise so that I had more capacity to learn.
Yeah.
So, like, do you know what I'm saying? There's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
many things
Understand
happening
that.
at the brain level, everything, the oxygen, the cardiovascular, it's the capacity, I think,
That
that
increases when we exercise,
when we
right?
the capacity to focus and
Yeah.
learn. And that's what the kids at Naperville did. That's why their test scores went up. They had more capacity to struggle through something hard.
Okay, so like I would have like two topics here, but first I'd ask this question. I mean, a very genuine question that in Europe, the gyms cost like 40 euros a month. Too much to spend. So, what are your recommended workouts that we can do at home simply and still give us where we are exercising? We are maintaining a healthy habit. What are some kind of workouts that we should prefer doing on daily basis?
Yeah, well, what's funny is in 2020, when no one could go to the gyms, a lot of people figured this out that you can go for a walk. You
Okay.
don't have to go to a gym. You can go for a walk, and if you can find some hills, like I don't know how flat it is where you are, but if you can find some hills, your heart rate gets up. But if you measure yourself going for a walk like you're late. Like it's
Yeah.
not just like a stroll and looking around, but walk like you're late and measure. It is not far off from being on an elliptical, like an
Okay.
elliptical at the gym. Because I started to measure. I measure everything. I know what a walk is like for me and an elliptical. And I
Okay.
know what sometimes going up harder mountains and ones that are longer but they're flat.
Yeah,
It,
yeah, I get it.
you know, so you just have to find what you like to do and make it consistent. And then it doesn't have to be a lot. Like I have a gym in my garage that
Okay.
my husband made for me, but it's got an elliptical and it's got some weights and an exercise ball, and that's all I need. I do go to the gym because my girls like to go, and I like to go with them sometimes. So I have a membership at the gym. It's not as expensive as yours, but we
Yeah.
go. But we don't have to. We can also on days we don't want to go, go for a walk and then go do like I don't even do a lot. 20 minutes 3 times a week of lifting weights. That's
I mean,
it.
yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, now I don't work out at all, but that's one of my 2026 resolutions that I
Okay.
want to do it at any cost.
Awesome. That's a great goal. So it is not hard to get started. Do something you enjoy that you can stick to. Walking, it doesn't have to be hard. And then it graduates to where what you want. Maybe running, I don't know. I'm too old for running now. It
I
doesn't
do
work.
walk like 2 kilometers almost each day because my
Okay.
lab is 2 kilometers away.
Good.
So, not while going because I'm in a rush when I have to reach the lab, but while coming back, I just walk
Yeah.
towards the home. And mostly it takes like me 15 minutes at max for 2 kilometers because I'm not walking slowly.
Yeah.
I am on a rush again.
Yeah. Love
So
it.
I think when I'm back home, instead of feeling tired, I feel contented. I have noticed it that when I'm walking, uh, because while walking, I'm in my own thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that makes me feel contented because while I'm walking, I'm thinking about all the things that make me happy. And even if I'm in a fight, that is very weird. If I have a fight with anybody and while I'm walking, by the time I'm home, I'll be all calmed down. I'll analyze the situation on the walk and then I will have a clear cut output when I'm home.
Love it. Love it.
So that's
Yeah,
why
that's
I think,
like your meditation, right?
yeah,
You're
that's my
walking.
meditation.
Mhm.
And you mentioned about a factor BDNF. I actually was going to come to that. That is brain-derived neurotrophic factor,
Mhm.
and we know that it is very important for the generation of new neurons in your brain and for forming of the new connections. Now, what I want to know that as we age, how do I maintain a healthy level of it? And the other thing is, what are some of the habits that we have in this generation, like the screen time or the scrolling of the reels or stuff like that, that actually impacts it in a negative way?
Yeah, so I can talk mostly for the exercise because
Yeah.
that's where I was focused on the most. So the exercise, Dr. Rady said it's like miracle grow for the brain. Like
Yeah.
it just makes your brain grow, and and that's where really I've focused on those health staples.
Yeah.
Like exercise is always the top one, but so is sleep. Like there's all these important things that if we, I don't want to just focus on exercise because we can over exercise. And
Yeah.
I've actually noticed because I measure things that I could be so focused on, okay, let's go exercise because this helps me here. But then I noticed on some recent blood tests that I was
Yeah.
showing inflammation from overtraining. So then I was even talking about this yesterday with some friends that are in their 60s and they've stopped exercising and they've started doing things like going to the sauna
Okay.
to still get your cardiovascular system
Yeah.
going. There's other ways to get the benefits of exercise as you get older without having to overtrain. So
Yeah.
it's finding the balance of exercise, sleep, relaxation, nutrition. It's
Yeah.
the whole thing, making them all work together. that I think is what moves the needle for us with, anti-aging,
Yeah.
all those things. So does that give you an answer?
Yeah, and let's say if I have to leave three habits or maybe two habits to stop harming my BDNF levels or to maintain them, what would be those habits that I should leave?
Staying up late,
Okay.
and scrolling or whatever. So having a same bedtime, same wake time. So getting the sleep consistency would be, I'd say, top,
Okay.
because I don't want to put exercise in there. Exercise is obvious, raising
Yeah.
BDNF, but I don't want to always focus on that because I don't want people to overtrain. So
Yeah.
rest, know the balance between when you need to exercise, when you need to rest, when you need to refuel. What are you eating? So habits, like, are you eating foods that hurt your brain or help your brain?
Okay.
So sugars hurt the brain,
Yeah.
proteins, fats are good for the brain. So I'd say sleep, exercise, fuel.
Okay. So, like the balance between recovery and then refueling and the nutrition is what will help me to get the way in that way that I can maintain the healthy level of BDNF while also not overexerting myself with anything, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I mean, now BDNF is directly related to cognition and the memory and everything that we have, right? Now, I wanted to ask that in this age of AI, where we are using artificial intelligence for everything, how do I keep my brain sharp? I mean, now we don't Google, we do a chat GPT and we get a direct answer. And when we do Google, we have to surf, we have to apply our brain. And now we just believe that what chat GPT gives me. And if I'm not using my brain enough, then of course my neurogenesis will not happen that much because I'm not even using that organ that much. So, how do I keep my brain sharp?
Okay, so the one thing AI does not have are these social and emotional competencies. That's what's
Yeah.
missing, right? And I think that was the biggest lesson I took away. I listened to this guy, his name was Hod, I forget his last name. Hod, I don't know. I don't remember his last name, but
Okay.
he was a professor and he taught AI and he did a big lesson for us on AI. And the big thing that he talked about was, he talked about, the curve,
Yeah.
where it's going, how it's going up exponentially, how he has his students creating these things that they're monitoring and they're trying to do contests. And he said the one thing that is missing from AI that they couldn't plug in was all those competencies,
Yeah.
naming the contest. Like how, you could put in a name or something and they would come up with something, but it was missing the emotional layer.
Yeah.
And so that's what he said. The biggest thing with AI is, sure, you're going to get things, and don't be afraid of it. Use it. Use it for what it is. It's only going to increase with time and with more things
Yeah.
that we input in. But it will not ever have what a human has inside, those competencies.
Yeah. I mean, that again stumbles upon the social and the emotional awareness that we cannot implant into the AI because some things require intuition. Some things come with experience and that requires intuition,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah, that's a
Yeah,
beautiful answer.
it is interesting though, because you know what, I'm gonna look up his name on here
Okay.
just so that I have it for you. It's Hod something. Hold on, Hod, AI, Dr. Hod, AI professor, Lipson.
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 Okay.
So he's the one that is working with students, and he's been, tracking this AI over the years, and showing us how it's going up exponentially. And he's, trying to bring the fear out of it. Don't be afraid of it. But you said something that was interesting that I don't know if he addressed it, but I've noticed it, that AI has a consciousness. So and I'm interested in consciousness right now, in the work that we're doing here, the spiritual side of it. But it can start to see, when I'm doing my work and I'll put something in, it can start to say, well, I'm going to answer it from how you would answer it. Well, where is it getting that from? So while it doesn't have the emotions, it's got something else that's
Yeah.
not human that I don't understand. So
True.
I'm definitely interested in the future of AI. I've got like right here, I'm just
Wow.
reading it right now.
Oh, it's a Time Magazine
Time
artificial.
magazine. I'm just trying to understand where is it going,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, it's quite interesting to see how it will change the future, because it's definitely not having the human intuition, but what it is having, which is not human and which is still very useful for humankind.
Right.
Kind of that, right?
Yeah.
And now that we have discussed stress, I would discuss what comes and go in very periodic manner, and I would just take half an hour more. I know I'm taking a lot of time.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I'll get some water.
And what I want to discuss about is motivation. First of all, there are three terms: enthusiasm, grit, and motivation.
Yeah.
These three are used very interchangeably, but they are very different. So, what is the difference between when I say I have the grit, I'm enthusiastic about something, and I'm motivated? What is the difference in these three terms when I say in terms of psychology or in terms of neuroscience?
Okay, so grit, tell me the other one, motivation
And enthusiasm.
and enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with grit.
Okay.
So that was Angela Duckworth, right? She came up with the book on grit and sticking something through, gritting, putting your
Yeah.
focus on something until you
Get it.
accomplish it. So grit, you're going to get through something to the end if you persevere. That's a
Yeah.
whole other one. Motivation, you might not get to the end result. You might be motivated, but you might quit if you
Yes.
don't have grit. If I was to pick one of these, I'll pick the one that's got grit. Enthusiasm. I might be enthusiastic about studying something, enthusiastic about learning these topics,
Yeah.
but it's going to get hard.
True.
I'm going to open up the book and say, I don't know how to do this, even
Yeah.
though I'm motivated, right?
Yes.
Um, I might have had enough sleep. I've eaten the right foods. I've got the most exercise. But if I don't have grit, I'm not going to do the hard work.
Yeah. That's now when I start something, like when I started the podcast, I had a lot of enthusiasm about it. I was very enthusiastic, and I still am very enthusiastic about it. And I have the motivation, and I have a grit that I have a vision in mind, and I want to reach there. But it's the process in between where we lose that grit, right? Where we
Right.
lose it.
Yeah.
Motivation goes down, enthusiasm goes. And you mentioned about that self-talk is something that helps you enforce it. And now I want to understand that, okay, I tell myself it will work. But how do I differentiate that I'm doing a good self-talk that is increasing my willpower to maintain my grit, and I'm doing a wishful thinking? What is the difference between the two over here then?
Yeah, so like I'm just gonna go with your podcast because this is I'm on the other end of it, right? I've grit through
Yeah.
to where I am, and of course it goes up and down,
Yeah.
right? So you have a vision. I want to do this.
Yeah.
You're motivated. You're enthusiastic. You might have written it down somewhere. You've got your vision. You know where it is and what's happening. And then stuff is going to happen in your life, in your work life, in your personal life, in your family's life. Maybe someone tells you, I don't like your podcast. I don't think you should be doing it.
Yeah.
And you get all this negative stuff that comes down on you that is starting to change your motivation and your enthusiasm, and you start looking at the things on the wall and you think, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Now, this is where your self-awareness comes in. If you are self-aware and you know what you're supposed to do in the world, nothing from outside stops you, because you probably will in your time have people that will say, I think you should stay in your lane, Ashita, and only be a PhD student and only study these things. Why are you doing this? You should stay focused in one lane, because I've had people say that.
Yes.
And so when you're self-aware, you cannot lie to yourself. So you will know if you're in the shower, if you're walking, what is true to you. It doesn't ever go away. It stays with you forever. Your self-awareness, what makes you happy, what you're supposed to do with your life. It never goes away. If you're supposed to do something, it will come back. So there's no wishful thinking here. This is self-awareness. This is you listening to what you're supposed to do, the message you're supposed to deliver.
Yeah.
It's not a wishful thinking. It's a calling. It's a something from within that you're supposed to do, that you're listening to yourself, you're self-aware, and you're creating something, and there isn't anything that could stop you from doing what you're supposed to do, unless you do it for 10, 20 times and you give up. And I look back and I go, where is Ashita?
Yeah.
Where's her podcast? What happened to her?
Yeah.
She gave up because it wasn't maybe what you were wanting to really do. You did a few episodes and you're like, this isn't for me. I don't like something about it. I don't know. Then it's not the true thing for you.
I mean, when I think about the podcast, if I just put the views, the reach, everything aside, it just makes me happy.
Okay.
So when I think about it, yes, you think about the views and stuff when they come. You look at the analytics, but as soon as you get the new podcast, you forget all about it.
Mm-hmm.
But what's on my brain is I get to interact with this beautiful, wonderful person who is doing very good. And if I get to learn something from them, that's it. You're doing it.
Absolutely. Then I can't wait to see where you'll be at like 100 episodes, right? Like that's why people came on my podcast, because they wanted to help.
Yeah.
Really.
And yeah, I also want to see how this turns out, because this is completely a lane which I never thought I would explore. Honestly, I started it this year in June, and I always had a second thought about doing it or not. And I started with the course of my first podcast was about just PhD. How do we do the research, how the process goes. But when I went through different podcasts, I realized it's not just research which is creative. There are many fields which are creative, which require this process. So then I started expanding it a bit. So yeah. And I have this very interesting question, which is probably I am very interested in. What is law of manifestation, and what is law of attraction, and what is it in neuroscience? Because I am seeing so much of content on these days on this topic, and some things they say it's positive. I say that they are very impractical for me to believe in.
Okay, so law of attraction came from like a few different areas, right? So it came from the speaker I worked for, talked about it. I worked for a speaker for 6 years that was focused on helping people with their finances.
Yeah.
So, you know, how to improve your finances, and all these things were in it, like learn who you are. And he did it in a way where he taught you how to understand your mind and how your mind works. And then he talked about it in a way where we look outside of our senses, so our five senses, what we see, hear, smell, taste, and
Yeah.
touch. There's more than that. There's our higher faculties of our mind, like our will, our
Yeah.
reasoning, our intuition. These are things we're not taught in school, but these are important ways to get the things we want
Yeah.
creatively. So that's where he would talk about it. Um, it was in the movie The Secret. If
Yeah.
you've seen The Secret, he was in it. There was a couple called Abraham Hicks.
Yeah.
They were going to be in the movie The Secret, but they opted out because
Okay.
they felt like that they had created that term law of attraction and they didn't want to share it.
Okay.
So um, I knew the law of attraction from Abraham Hicks first. It was the first place I learned it. And I didn't know anything about it until I was given this cassette tape. Like, so back in the day, we had cassette tapes that
Yeah.
we listened to. And I was given this cassette tape series, and it was from Abraham Hicks. And one of the tapes was called The Law of Attraction and Vibration.
Okay.
And I was supposed to deliver this cassette tape to my mentor, Bob Proctor. Someone wanted him to see it. And in my car, I put one of the tapes in and I listened to it, and it was all about, you know, this way of thinking. And I was blown away because no one had ever taught us this. Like, you know, how do you line up your mind with what you want, your vision, your goals? How do you attract something to you that you want, you know? Like, adding the neuroscience to it is a little difficult because it's a spiritual term,
Yeah.
right? So how do we connect the science to spiritual? That's something I'm very interested in, and I tread carefully there
Yeah.
because it's not there yet. But when I got to the speaker's house and I gave him the cassette tape box, he looked at it, he opened it, and he went like this with his hands and he said, "You listened to one of them. Which one did you listen to?" And I was like, "What? How
What?
did he do this?" He's like doing magic on me. And I realized afterwards it was because one of them was warmer. It was in the tape thing, so it was
Yeah.
warmer than the other, so that's how he did it. But I'm like, he's not that magical
Wow.
that he could guess. But I told him I had listened to it, and then he gave me the cassette tape. He said, "I want you to have it, listen to them, and give it back to me." So that's where I first learned about the tuning forks. Well, I first learned about it in Bob Proctor's book. He talks about it in, you know, lining up with what you want. It's like a radio station.
Yeah.
So if I'm listening to 99.9, I like that station. If I tune on to another station, it's a different frequency, a different level. And so getting ourselves on the frequency of what we want, our thoughts, our mind, our being, our belief, our identity, it's just operating on these levels of frequency. So that's what law of attraction is. Really, it's when we want something, are we in harmony of what it is we want? Are we on that level of vibration? The tuning fork, if it was to tune, is it tuning to the right level? Or do I not really believe that I can have it, and I'm not on the same frequency as what I want, and I need to do some work to get there? So
Okay, so how do you get that frequency? I mean, for example, if I want something, okay, so one of the techniques that I heard is like you say that you got it. You say it like you have achieved it, and that's how you do it. I mean, how do I tell myself that I have done something when I'm still in the process of doing it? For
That's
example, if
a great question. Yeah.
I mean, I tried it and I tried saying the thing that I wanted, but it just didn't convince me because I was like, I am working hard for it. I'm still doing it. I'm in the process. How do I convince myself that I'm there already?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's with over time. So imagine I had a glass of water in front of me and I put red dye in it and I twirl it around and you can't see the red dye. I put
Yeah.
one dot in, you can't see it. Over time, I put red dye in. I put more red dye in. More red dye is belief. More red dye is belief in what you're doing. Eventually, it turns red.
Yeah.
Eventually, what you're doing, you become what you're doing by doing the same thing over and over and over again, by practicing until you believe whatever it is that you're doing, you line up, your frequency lines up. It's hard for you to see it. It's way easier for other people to see it in you. Like I've seen it. I interviewed this one guy. His name was Ryan O'Neill.
Okay.
And for years, he studied this stuff. I sent him books. He's in Scotland. I
Okay.
sent him books in the mail and I made tabs on them so he would understand it. I would send it to him. And he had this vision always in his head. He did work in paranormal,
Okay.
like going and seeing castles and doing tapes and stuff of what he would see in these castles. And he always had this vision of being really big with what he was doing. And and I would talk to him and he would be reading the book. Yeah, I'm reading the stuff. I'm reading the stuff. And then like 7 years later, I see him on TV. He's
Wow.
like he's got a show paranormal in Ireland and he
Wow.
was doing his work in Ireland. So and he looked different. It's like eventually you do the work, you do the same thing over and over and over again, and eventually the water turns red. You get to where you're going, but it's belief and it's grit
So I
and
have to say to myself that I have done it daily in order to get to that change. Like,
you have to see yourself doing it, whatever it is. Like I don't know what it is. Like I don't know what your end goal is, but you have to see yourself doing that thing.
okay, so let's say if my end goal is my podcast should be so successful, I should have 1 million subscribers. Let's say my end goal is that. So I should,
So how do you know? That's what a lot of people ask me. How do you know if you have 1 million subscribers? I know downloads, but how do you know if you have 1 million people following you?
on YouTube, basically you see the
On
subscribe
YouTube. Okay,
on YouTube.
that's
So,
easy.
yeah.
Okay.
So let's say if my goal is I should have 1 million subscribers. More
Yeah.
is fine. I'm not okay with the less. Let's say that's the term that I want. So I have to set, so let's say I have to set myself in harmony with my goal.
Okay,
So
now that is such an easy goal. Like I thought it was gonna be like something PhD related, like you're gonna solve. Honestly, if it, because why it's easy is because there's so many people who've done it that
yeah.
you just get help. Like I have help right now from some guy, um, from India. He sends me a message um, on Instagram.
Okay.
His name is Vishal Sharma. He
Okay.
is an expert at YouTube.
Okay.
And so he's like, Andrea, I would like to make some YouTube shorts for you. And so everyone wants to help you, right?
Yeah.
And so I ignore, I delete. Suddenly I wrote back to him and he's helping me in ways that he's not asking for me to pay him now.
Yeah.
It's like he's made some shorts for me. Now he's like, how can I further monetize your channel? Because I make money off of YouTube. It's the only thing that I make money off of through my work. But he found some videos that had a copywritten song in it,
Yeah.
and he went in and he took it out. So I'm telling you that goal is easy. You just find someone that knows how to do it, and you say, can you help me? Can you show me how to do this? And you listen to them and they do it with you, they do it with whoever. That is an easy goal, Ashita.
Really? I always
Yes.
because I the way I think is that when you have like for me it's like when I see the content that is not even useful, like people doing some type of content which is not useful to anybody, they get like viral in no time. But when you have good content,
Right.
it's very difficult to climb up that ladder because not everybody wants the good content or the podcast. I have seen the podcasts that are like having clickbait titles, manifest anything in 10 days, 10
Right.
days and you learn coding like anybody, and these things get clicks very easily. But for me, I'm like, I want authentic content. I will not put this kind of things which misguide people. Can't do that.
Yep.
So that's why I think climbing up that ladder there is very difficult.
No, I understand, and you just keep doing what you're doing,
Yeah.
and you just keep going. You have you have it written down somewhere. You ask for help from people who have done it. You keep interviewing
Yeah.
people, and you just keep going.
Yeah.
And you don't think about, when.
Yeah.
Just keep doing the small steps. It's like climbing up the mountain. I never look at where I'm going. If I was to look, there's this house when I'm hiking on the hiking trails, and
Yeah.
it's like my halfway point. And when I'm starting, if I look at the house, I'm like, oh gosh, that's so far.
Yeah.
So I never look at where I'm going. Just do one step at a time and imagine the water with the red dye. Eventually, it will be water, and you'll be like, oh, Andrea, remember when I was starting out, right?
Yeah, definitely. And the last thing that I have in my mind is embracing uncertainty. So, in today's world, it's very easy to be uncertain about things that you are doing. For example, when I say that I'm doing a PhD and I want to do this and I'm solving this problem, it's uncertain because science is full of uncertainties. Like, there was a very nice line, I don't remember the scientist now, but the line was that science is about expecting the unencountered and embracing the uncertain. So that's what science was about. Now, in our generation, it's very common the moment you have uncertainties, you turn to numerologist, astrologist, and rather than using these things for self awareness, you use these things to define your future. Like, for example, uh, I have seen that, if somebody has told you this will happen in your life, it implants that negativity over here. That they said it, it happened. But they never think it that way, but because they implanted the negativity in your brain already. And the other way around as well, if they implant overconfidence in your brain. So, how do I actually, embrace the uncertainty? And while still going on the path that I should be going, still being proactive, still taking these small steps, and still being on track, how do I train myself for that? How do I tell my brain, okay, this is not the right way to do? You can't control that factor, leave that out. So, how do I do that?
So there's a lot in there, and it was interesting because I'm very careful with the words I say, right? Like, let's just go back to words.
Yeah.
The words you say, the words you think can really impact you and other people. Like, really, they can really mess up a person's life. If I was to say, Ashita, I don't think you have the capacity for doing that. You might listen to me if you
Yeah.
think like that I know what I'm talking about, or you can say she doesn't know what she's talking about, right? So we have to be very careful of what we say to ourselves and others. Like, that's the
Yeah.
first thing. Um, my husband said something to my daughter the other day. I don't know if that's the right path for you. And, that was true, but who's to limit her? Maybe the path that she wants to go on isn't invented yet. So who's to say? Like you just said, there is a lot of uncertainty
Yeah.
in the world. We don't know what jobs are going to be invented that aren't
Yeah.
here yet for ourselves. So first of all, it's with um, learning how to not see live through our senses. I'm going to say so. It's learning how to live with your higher faculties, your
Yeah.
intuition, your reason. all those higher faculties that we're not taught, not by looking at what's in your bank account,
Yeah.
what we see, don't say like your grades. Your grades could be a certain way, but I watch kids change their grades
Yes.
quickly.
12
So, you
weeks.
know, things can change. And imagine if you limited yourself on what you saw or your bank. Like that's a big one because honestly, it's been probably my biggest teacher coming to the US and I had $16 and I had to figure out how am I going to buy a car? How am I going to live here? What am I going to do? And it was at a time right before September 11th happened, and then the world blew upside down when I was here trying to figure it out. But you can have $16 in your bank and find a way to make 316 and
Yeah.
you're fine for the next step. Like it's just learning to live outside of what you can see in the world, trusting that you're going to make the right decision that's going to land you on your next step, the next right place. It's
Yeah.
trusting in yourself and not having to ask other people, what do you
Yeah.
think I should do? You should know inside that you're on the right track. I hope that helps because living in uncertainty it can be exciting
Yeah.
because, right, you don't have to know the whole thing. You just have to know the next step.
I mean, that's right. But sometimes uncertainty can also be very demotivating because you don't know where to stop. Like in research, we say that if you don't have an end goal, sometimes you are just going in dark because
Yeah.
you are just going and going and you don't know where to stop. Like for example, if I'm trying one thing again, again, and again and again, and it is not working out. So, and now I have to stop, and I don't have that stopping point. That can be very demotivating, I guess. And for our generation, like I see my friends and people near me, they turn to these people very actively because they give some kind of confidence to them that okay, this will happen in future and this kind of stuff. And that got me thinking that if they know it, they probably should invest their money in the stock market and they'll get a lot of it.
Right.
So that is something for me. Like for example, I mean, for me, PhD was also very uncertain. That I don't know it. I don't know what I'm gonna do this research about. I just do the techniques. I don't know what the result will be. The hypothesis will be true or not. But I embraced it. That because it gives me the exploration. So, I think in our generation that is very less. We don't want to embrace the uncertainty. So,
You want to know everything.
I mean, I'm a control freak by nature, so I actually want to know everything, what is gonna happen. But with time, I'm starting to learn to embrace it. I think I'm just 20% still there because still I want to control everything happening around me.
That's understandable because it's safe.
Yeah,
But when you embrace the uncertainty, you might uncover something you didn't know before.
yeah,
Like, imagine when the guy was telling me about neuroscience,
yeah,
and it wasn't safe for me if I was to say, no, I'm not going to listen to what you're saying because it's hard. And, I never would have done this podcast. I never would have thought, like, uncovered this. So there's a lot of gifts, I guess, when you can like be able to embrace what's uncertain and see what's in there.
I think, yeah, I think I'm still on my way of learning it, and maybe one day I'll be like half as there as much as you are because I know that while seeing your podcast, I actually saw your season one episodes and the selected episodes. I watched it, and I can see that transformation, and I was so overwhelmed by it that I actually wrote it. I literally
Oh,
wrote it,
oh
and
wow.
there was something that I really liked about your podcast, like. the question asking, and how you when you see somebody growing, you just think that maybe we can be half as much as they are there, and then you know you feel like that. So I wrote it, and that's was one of the things that I felt that you know like this is what I call growth, and this is what I aim for.
Wow. Wow.
For me, if
Love
I
it.
say what is my vision was always that I want to be better with each passing day.
Yes.
That's the
That's
vision
amazing.
I have.
I love it. Yep.
So,
1% better every day.
yeah. So, and that brings me to the end of the podcast. And thank you so much, Andrea, for joining me, because literally I cannot stop smiling right now because I'm so overwhelmed, because I got answers to a lot of questions I had.
Oh, I'm so glad. I hope it helped, and I hope that the inside out, the science side is something I'm still learning to apply myself. So these were all questions that I just came up out of my head. So you made me think hard. Thank you for that. And I just appreciate your curiosity. It's inspiring.